we'll just get started in a minute while Carlene transitions to her laptop. And yeah, if anyone wants to like unmute and talk about how they're doing today, that's cool too. I'm really excited for y'all to see the hard work that Carlene and Zian put together. They put an awesome presentation together about, well, I won't spoil that. You'll see in a few minutes.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start the content and the introductions right now. So as for myself, hi everyone, my name is Carlene Kahealeni. I am a second year now at UC Berkeley studying both civil and environmental engineering and environmental economics and policy. I am an Ilocana Kanaka Maoli student. I was born and raised in Southside Stockton, and now I live in Lodi. I also live in the Bay Area for school. I'm a proud product of the 209. Some fun facts about myself is I like to build keyboards. For example, here is my first build, very clacky. I also have a peanut allergy, so no PB&Js. So, and I'm gonna pass it on to my Adi.
Hi everyone, so my name is Zian. I go by she, her. Sorry you can't really like see my screen besides like my other login because I'm using my phone as a mic because for some reason my computer is not working for like the mic. But I am a high school junior. I go to Stockton Early College Academy. Go Timberwolves! I was born and raised in Southside Stockton. Born and raised by my mom and dad who are Ilocano. Some fun facts about me is my favorite artist right now is Steve Lacy and Kanye. I know Steve Lacy just came out with his new album, and I just gotta say, it's just straight too good, straight gas. Best songs on the album got to be like Mercury and Bad Habit. Another fun fact about me is that I like to watch game shows with my family. We usually like binge watch it like after eating dinner, so a lot of Family Feud, and then yeah.
I know y'all utilized the chat option just a few seconds ago before our introductions, but if you are comfortable to use it again, go ahead and type from a scale to 1 to 10, how are y'all feeling today? 1 from complete trash to 2 or to 10, like you're feeling good, you know? And if you're not comfortable, go ahead and don't, it's fine. Next slide. So the sections are the flow that we're going to be going over today. So we're going to start off with 209's history, which is led by Deanne. And then I'll go next with investigating the elements, which are the soil and water, earth and stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and close off with Your Air is My Air, which is what I've been learning with Dawn. And then together, both Zian and I will close off with some few words. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Zian.
Yeah, so as Carlene said, we'll be looking into like how Stockton history connects with redlining and how it's the structure of our city's injustices, and seeking wellness. We're going to be seeking wellness through the debunking unhealthy habits here in Stockton among our youth. So next slide, please. So Stockton's redlining. Stockton's redlining goes into like a whole different section. Like it could be its own presentation. So I'm just going to give like a little brief description about it. So redlining is a system created by the FDA and the Home Owners Loan Corporation to section off neighborhoods based on residential security. Residential security meaning how much are these people are able to pay back the bank on how much they're giving for their home. So let's say, for example, during this time, they wouldn't let people of color, specifically African, Filipino, and Mexican American people, to have homes outside of north of Main Street, just because of how they were more likely to not be able to pay back their debts. And another thing is housing segregation. Was just like how I said, they wouldn't let the people of color living in these certain zones. So if you look on the map on the right side, it shows a map of redlining. So red means hazardous neighborhoods, yellow meaning declining, blue meaning still desirable, and green meaning best. In these neighborhoods, there were a lot of, or actually, oh, sorry. Actually, if you were to drive up north and you were a person of color, there were police officers waiting for you just in case you were crossing that border of intersection. Also, besides police, there are actually white gangs who would prey on people of color because of them crossing over north of Main Street. So how this affects us today is not only how these poor properties are staying poor because of less property taxes. So for example, our school district, Stockton Unified Schools, usually most of them actually lay along north of Main Street, because going more higher, you usually run into the Lincoln side. So with that, our schools don't get enough funding to provide our students with enough resources that we need. Usually in school, they give you a paper where you have to fill out, and like they ask for your family's income, and they use that to base it on how much money that school gets. Another thing on how it affects us today is that the red area communities are left out on planning processes. So for example, they would be left out of public policy decisions that were usually on items that were directly impacting their community, such as road pavements and stuff like that. And last but not least, they also created less available storefronts and food options that are healthy. If you are part of or like live in the area, you should know that the two main storefronts that we have here are Food for Less and Senor Ranch Miguel. Usually they're very far from each other, whereas like in north of Main Street, you have a lot of food options such as Winco, Walmart, and stuff like that. We also have a lot of fast food areas that are there's a lot towards our side, and it's not a healthy option for our people. And if we go to the next slide, this is just a big thing that if you notice, could you click it please, Koji? So we have our redlining map, and then next we have, can you click it? The hazarded waste, and then asthma, and last but not least, diesel PM. If you look at these maps, there's one big outlier that you could see, and it's that all these communities in South Stockton are usually redlined and have higher rates of asthma, hazardous waste, and PM diesel. I just want you guys to take this in and just really take it in and see how much that not only is this information proving how redlining has affected our community, but also how you think this could, how this affects our communities. So moving on, I'll pass it on to Carlene.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Stockton wellness and kind of evaluating how our health as South Stockton youth has diminished over the years, ever since like the cicadas came all the way from the Philippines or Hawaii to Stockton to kind of start their own families and, you know, work in the fields and become manongs and all that. So hustle culture is very much important for all generations, because it kind of started within like this whole immigration period. And as Stockton had and still continues to be a hub for all that immigration, the idea of work dominance and overworking kind of lingers, and it kind of gets to a lot of youth's heads. It actually has, for like my own personal story, overworking and like trying to kind of assert myself that, oh, I'm powerful enough to keep working and to be capable of working overtime and stuff like that. I do submit myself to do that all the time, you know, like it lingers everywhere, like in Berkeley too. You know, like if you don't work hard enough, people will look at you pretty badly. Or like if you don't work overtime, you know, if your parents don't work overtime, what are they doing? That's really, it's mentally draining for youth to hear that for their own parents, or for parents to hear that for their own kids. um you know, my parents, they're always hardworking, but they don't understand that, like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to like relax once in a while. But to get that groove going and to kind of set your own boundaries is really important as well. So in the next slide, um, continue. I'm going to be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Lots of psych folks probably have seen this in their undergrad classes. Oh yeah, go Bears. Okay, so the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm not no psych major, so I don't know everything about it, but I do know that from the bottom to the top are specific needs that humans need to fulfill in their specific order compared to where they are from front to the top, or from the bottom to the top. So from the bottom, we have the basic needs that a human needs to survive. So you need to breathe, you need to be able to nourish yourself with food, you need to be able to drink water. Um, for those with kids, yeah, you need to be able to sleep, and you need to be able to stay warm with homeostasis and etc. And then the body kind of moves after that specific like section is met. You want to go ahead and prioritize safety, and that means like security of the self, you know, finding a good stable job with employment, you know, having a family, being able to stay healthy with a hospital and stuff like that. And then after that's fulfilled, you go ahead with love. So you go ahead and start developing friendships, start making a family, etc. And then after that is fulfilled, you can go ahead and start with esteem. So building self-confidence and respect for yourself, respect for others. And then once that is accomplished, usually you'll tend off to be like, oh, I have a spark to do something I really love to enjoy because I have so much motivation from the surrounding like environment. So when you're like loved everywhere, you want to be like, oh, I want to go off somewhere and like have fun to do things on my own time and like I don't know, draw and paint and sing and all these cool things and start workshops and all that type of stuff. But the only difference is in South Stockton, or like in any immigrant family or in any low income family, these types of priorities are probably, you got to kind of switch them up. Um, I know as for myself, and probably I'm not speaking for other immigrant children, but we usually stir these priorities around just so we can accommodate like our families. Usually we don't really prioritize ourselves because we're prioritizing our families instead, or we're like trying to find stability in a part-time job just so we can make ends meet, and therefore letting go of school. It's really hard to prioritize the priorities that are supposed to be met in the first place because of other certain factors. I know that a lot of us probably work part-time jobs just to, you know, pay for a college application. I know that kids don't qualify for waivers, and even though they are considered low income, but they're just not low income enough. And it's like really dehumanizing to work to a certain limit where you're not even being able to complete like your AP language homework or something like that. So yeah, it's just really important to know where to take a break and to know that your health comes first, because not being able to like breathe or eat will really mess you up and it's not cool. Just make sure you start from the bottom and then you go work your way up before you start worrying about other things. But that is a lot of information. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. And I'm going to do kind of ground y'all and say that I am not licensed at all. Please don't take my advice. For reals. Like, don't, if you need help, please reach out for someone else, not me. I'm a student. I don't do that. But if everyone is okay, yeah, I don't know how to ground quite well yet. But quick break. What is go ahead and write what is your favorite vegetable, or just go ahead and write us to let us know how y'all are feeling. Um, I'm so sorry for throwing all information at y'all.
Sophia, did you have a question you wanted to ask us?
Oh, no, I just wanted to share my favorite vegetable.
Yeah.
Go ahead, knock
Do
it out.
I like, this is gonna sound really like, what's that one cartoon character, the one that eats spinach and he gets hella strong? That's me. I've been eating hella spinach. And the thing is, I got like iron deficiency. It's been giving me energy, kind of. So yeah, I've been fulfilling that bottom, like the bottom of the triangle by eating spinach to tie it back to the workshop. So yeah.
Okay, so time check. We have about 15 minutes before we can, close off and stuff. But I will be talking about the elements, aka earth and water. I'll be jumping into the structure of our delta waterways and soil contamination. So go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay, so soil safety. As you know, San Joaquin County is one of the biggest counties for all of our agricultural production. We produce lots of asparagus, lots of almonds in Lodi, lots of onions by 8 Mile. Basically, everything you can think of probably comes from the valley, if not Salinas, California. So soil contamination is the presence of human-made chemicals in soil that may pose a threat to natural life. So that means those pesticides that they use to promote like growth or whatever, to kill that can make sure that all the bugs that are eating it are killed and can continue the growth of our plants. Yeah, when farmers inhale that, that's pretty bad. So the causes of our soil contamination stem from industry activities, climate change, and other environmental issues that I will talk about in the next slide. So water. I think this was Zian's, but can I take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so water. As an environmental engineer, we know, or as I know, that lots of industrious activities can contribute to water contamination. So the port, it's pretty dirty because there is a factory right above it. And we see that with recreation, lots of pools are chlorinated just so people can swim in them. And the uses of water for drinking, we use it for energy as well. I know UC Merced is working on not working, but they already have their whole campus is run by the water that's underneath. That's what I heard. I'm not a UC Merced student. I am a sister of a UC Merced alum. So I know that they're very environmentally cool. And they really like to make things hydro electric. And there's medical uses and agriculture. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm gonna pass it on to Zian because I know she worked hard on this one.
Yeah, so jumping into our Delta waterways, I just want to mention that Stockton is actually the largest city located on the eastern edge of our San Joaquin Delta River. We use this water as a source for agricultural use, domestic use, and industrial purposes. But also we use, when we're storing water, the technique we're using is not the best. So water mismanagement. With the water that we have from the Delta waterways, we store it in dams, which are, the specific dams are called the Central Valley are maintained by the Central Valley Project and the State Water Project canals. Withholding this much water actually doesn't allow enough flow in our waterways, which creates changes in our water balance and quality. Also increases water temperature, which later on develops, causes our animals and plant species in the water to either die off or close to dying off. We also have difficult water flow, as I said earlier, and harmful algal blooms. With harmful algal blooms, this creates toxins that can either sicken or even kill animals or humans. It also creates dead zones in our water, which is low oxygen levels, which Oh, sorry. And also, it raises the price of drinking water treatment. And yeah, that's basically how our waterways are stored.
Okay. So the third section is Your Air is My Air. I'm going to be talking about some respiratory issues and Stockton asthma. As a Dawn advocate, we've done a lot of work learning about like the specifics in asthma mitigation and kind of continuing the legacy of Manang Dawn. And I'll kind of talk about later about that. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. So air pollution takes in the form of transportation technology. So we see that in I-5, I-99, Highway 4. And to reduce costs, people kind of just like made priority into these highways. So air pollution in South Stockton area resides in, can you like click again, please? In this specific area, this is where the air pollution is most apparent, and it kind of backtracks into our asthma numbers. So an estimated 100 people per 10,000 people in this census tract have asthma, and that's like that is 93% more than like every other census tract in California. Next slide, please. I got like 4 minutes left. I gotta zoom through this. Okay, so as for Dr. Dawn Mabalan, she is the co-founder of Little Manila Rising, alongside Dylan Delvaux, and she unfortunately passed away in Kauai, Hawaii due to an asthma attack. And that is our whole emphasis on the Dawn project, or like the Dawn initiative, is just to kind of research everything that is important towards asthma and kind of teach our youth and other community members the importance of controlling your asthma. So just you don't like have you don't struggle like the same way that other folks from asthma who have had asthma attacks before. And we just want to make sure that everything is in control and you can kind of control your asthma with it. Because I know I was like, as an athlete or as a student going to these schools that are located by factories, it's kind of hard to avoid it. But if you can control and know how to use your inhaler and all that type of stuff, that's everything that Dawn kind of wanted in this project. So next slide, please. So I was featured on a Reuters article, kind of where it was like how computer mapping and like coding could help and fix polluted neighborhoods. They're doing a lot of sensor work, putting sensors to evaluate the unhealthy air in the community, and we can kind of evaluate that through pollution burden and pollution characteristics. All these will be listed in our follow-up email with all the slides and stuff, so I don't want to list it right now because we're on limited time schedule. But next slide, please. So to absorb and reflect, I know that was a bunch of information thrown at you, and I understand that this is a lot of information overload. So probably you can take some time to think about it and talk to us later if you would like. But for those who are ready and to go and to answer all my questions, or like not answer all my questions, to absorb and reflect, go ahead and tell us what y'all think. But for me, I just want y'all to walk away with the fact that this environment was not made to accommodate us as people of color, as low-income children, low-income immigrant children. This community that we live in was like desensitized. It was made to destroy us because of these factories that were implemented in our communities. These factories could have been placed in a different area, but they chose to do it. They chose to input this in Southside Stockton, and we're trying to, as Little Manila Rising, we're trying to like reclaim that back and have these institutions placed somewhere else, just so we can have the right to breathe the clean air and to drink the clean water that we deserve. So yeah, if Zian wants to go, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I just want you guys to realize that from being here today, you're also making a step towards the right direction, for getting informed, and listening to us really helps our community as a whole be on the same track. So if you guys have any like other question or comments, concerns or anything, like not at the moment, but maybe later, you can reach us at advocates@littlemanila.org. And there's also a little Google form that you guys can fill out. I don't know if you could drop that in the chat, Caroline, if you can.
It works. The link works. Slay. Yes, I'll have this presentation available to y'all. I'll send the presentation link to my facilitators later, to my moderators later. I just wanted to say on my end, thank y'all for listening to me and bearing with me. Like I said, this has been a while since I've kind of done an online meeting before. Everything I've done was practically in person, because of Berkeley and stuff. But thank you guys for allowing me to teach y'all about these situations, and yeah, appreciate it.
Does anyone have any, before we go back to the main room, does anyone have any questions for Carlene and Zian about their workshop?
I don't have a question. My name is Ernalita, but I do have a comment if that's okay. Okay, I strongly believe that Carlene and Zian did an amazing job. And I am a motivational speaker, so I would like to motivate both of them to appreciate the effort, acknowledge yourself for doing the deed, and also maybe minimize the saying sorry, because ladies, you're giving us information, and it's not just information, it's valuable information. And to be honest with you, I moved in Lodi 2 years ago and never had asthma. And I was wondering why I'm having shortness of breath, why I'm having these health problems. And without your presentation, without this workshop, I would have never found out that the air that I'm breathing in is not healthy. So kudos to both of you. And please, sorry is not a word. Replace that with sexy, and own your presentation, own your workshop. You guys did amazing.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love the affirmations, y'all. So the breakout rooms are closing, but keep the affirmations coming. That was awesome. And I'll see you all in the main room.